In the manicured lawns and whisper-quiet streets of Willow Creek, a suburban enclave where every blade of grass seemed to bow to an unspoken code, a scandal was brewing that would shatter the neighborhood's pristine facade. At the heart of it was Linda Harper, the iron-fisted president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association, a woman who wore her authority like a crown and wielded it like a scepter. Linda, with her perfectly coiffed hair and a smile that never quite warmed her eyes, had long ruled the community with an obsessive zeal for perfection. But when she crossed paths with Daniel Kim, a newcomer still unpacking the boxes of his post-divorce life, the stage was set for a showdown that would expose her reign of terror and spark a firestorm of controversy. Daniel had chosen Willow Creek for its promise of peace, a fresh start after a messy divorce. The neighborhood's orderly charm, with its matching mailboxes and spotless sidewalks, felt like a balm for his bruised soul. But tranquility was short-lived. Barely 2 days after moving in, a crisp envelope arrived, stamped with the HOA's embossed seal. Inside was a violation notice, pinned in Linda's meticulous script, citing his living room drapes for being visibly substandard from the street. Daniel chuckled, assuming it was a quirky welcome prank, until Linda herself appeared at his doorstep, clipboard in hand, her lips pursed in disapproval. "The HOA bylaws mandate aesthetic harmony," she declared, handing him an official warning on letterhead so ornate it could have been framed. The drapes, she insisted, clashed with the neighborhood's curated palette. What began as a minor annoyance snowballed into a relentless campaign. Linda's notices arrived like clockwork. His mailbox was an unapproved shade of charcoal, his garden hose coiled in reverse orientation, his recycling bin placed at a displeasing diagonal. Each infraction came with a fine and a multi-page letter quoting bylaws Daniel was certain Linda invented on a whim. He began keeping his blinds drawn to shield his home from her prying eyes, only to receive another violation for projecting an unwelcoming demeanor that devalued the community's curb appeal. Linda's demands escalated. She requested, then insisted, on inspecting his home's interior, claiming select residents allowed her to ensure compliance with unwritten standards of excellence. Daniel, valuing his privacy, politely declined, sparking a flicker of shock in Linda's eyes. No one, it seemed, had ever said no to her. The tension simmered as Daniel noticed unsettling signs. A flower pot nudged slightly askew, unfamiliar footprints in his freshly raked garden soil. The final straw came after a weekend work trip when he found muddy tracks inside his foyer, evidence of an intruder. Alarmed, he contacted the police, sharing months of Linda's escalating harassment and his suspicions. Detective Sarah Bennett listened intently, her brow furrowing as Daniel presented a stack of violation notices, each more menacing than the last. "We need hard evidence," she advised, proposing a sting operation to catch Linda in the act. They installed hidden cameras and devised a plan. Daniel would stick to his routine, leaving his home predictably, while officers waited inside. Unbeknownst to them, Linda had an ace up her sleeve, a spare key from the HOA's archives, left by the home's previous owner. The trap was set for a Thursday evening, when Daniel leashed his golden retriever, Max, for their 6:30 walk, making a show of strolling down the street. Officers Emily Carter and Michael Reed, having slipped in through the back door, monitored the cameras from Daniel's study. At 6:47, Linda approached, her nervous glances betraying her confidence. She slipped the key into the lock, stepped inside, and moved with chilling familiarity, her phone already out to photograph offenses. She snapped shots of Daniel's bookshelf, muttering about unsuitable titles visible from the window, and his coffee table, which violated some obscure HOA furniture code. So engrossed was she in her mission that she didn't notice Officer Carter's deliberate throat clearing until it echoed through the room. "What are you doing in Mr. Kim's home?" Carter asked, her voice calm but razor-sharp. Linda spun around, her face draining of color, her phone slipping from her hand and cracking on the hardwood. She stammered, brandishing her HOA badge like a shield, insisting she was conducting an official inspection. Officer Reed pressed her. Did she have Daniel's permission? Linda's response was a masterclass in delusion. She claimed her role as HOA president granted her implicit authority to enforce community standards even suggesting the officers owed her gratitude for boosting property taxes that funded their salaries. Her trembling hands fumbled for a laminated HOA rulebook, flipping frantically for a clause to justify her presence, but Carter cut her off. "HOA rules don't override criminal law," she said. "Breaking and entering is a felony." When Linda tried to storm out, Reed blocked her path. Her composure shattered. She dialed her husband, shouting about police harassment, but his support waned as the officers explained the situation. The silence on the line was deafening. As Carter reached for her handcuffs, Linda's bravado gave way to desperation, her voice climbing to a shrill pitch as she claimed the key and HOA bylaws gave her rights, threatened to have the officers' badges revoked, and boasted of her brother-in-law's legal prowess. The handcuffs clicked shut, unmoved by her tirade. The walk to the squad car was a spectacle neighbors spilled onto their lawns, drawn by the commotion. Susan Miller from across the street clapped gleefully, while Tom and Gwen recorded the scene, Linda's monogrammed jacket and signature blonde bob unmistakable despite her attempts to shield her face. She hissed about privacy violations, oblivious to the irony. At the station, Linda's entitlement reached new heights. She refused fingerprinting, citing her fresh manicure, and demanded a private cell, insisting her community status exempted her from common criminals. The booking officer, unimpressed, processed her like any suspect. Her one phone call went not to her lawyer but to the mayor's office, where her complaints fell on deaf ears. By morning, Willow Creek buzzed with the news. The HOA president had been caught red-handed. The emergency HOA meeting that weekend overflowed, with standing room-only crowds. Residents shared their own tales of Linda's overreach, petty fines, veiled threats, suspicious prowling. The vote to oust her was unanimous, her allies distancing themselves from the scandal. The HOA scrapped its spare key policy, returning all keys to homeowners. The court proceedings unveiled a darker truth. Prosecutors revealed Linda had entered at least 3 other homes, using HOA keys to compile secret dossiers on problem residents, complete with photos of private spaces and notes on personal lives. Daniel's file, flagged in red, detailed his divorce, work hours, and estimated wealth based on his furniture. Detective Bennett testified that Linda's surveillance bordered on criminal stalking, far beyond any HOA duty. Defiant to the end, Linda took the stand against her lawyer's advice, delivering a rambling defense of her sacred duty to maintain perfection. When asked if she believed she had the right to enter any home, she answered, yes, without hesitation, drawing a stern glare from the judge. Her comparison of her HOA badge to a law enforcement credential sealed her fate. Linda was sentenced to 2 years of probation, 300 hours of community service, and $10,000 in fines. In the courtroom, her expression flickered between disbelief and denial, as if expecting her HOA clout to sway the law. The woman who once held Willow Creek in her grip was reduced to a cautionary tale, her name synonymous with overreach. The neighborhood, freed from her tyranny, began to heal, but the scandal left a lingering question. How had one woman's obsession with control gone unchecked for so long? For Daniel, vindication was bittersweet, his privacy restored, but his trust in community forever shaken. Willow Creek, once a symbol of suburban serenity, would never be the same.